Good evening and welcome after this long absence, and it's wonderful to see real human beings here. I'd like to talk just a little bit about how to understand and appreciate the poetry that Mahsa will sing beyond what a direct translation can offer. How the poetry relates to the music, how they're woven together, and how the modern poetry relates to the classical poetry, because both will be included in this evening's program. In Iran, they talk about poetry as the king of arts, and that highest status lends its aura also to things that are related to poetry, like calligraphy and music. And the poetry is seen not just as a sculpting of language, of sound and meaning into an artful object, but as a speech act with transformative power beyond the semantic, a little bit like mantra or magic spells at times. When Rumi talks about the transformative nature of his meeting with Shams, his spiritual friend, his beloved, who set off this incredible outpouring of years of poetry, the words he chose were, "When your love began to fill up my heart, whatever else I had was burnt away. Logic and book learning were tossed on the fire. Now I study song and poetry all day." Although we tend to think of poetry in the West as a matter for books and private perusal, in Persian culture, poetry has always been married to music and shared aloud. The word khandan is the same word that's used to describe singing, reciting, reading aloud. It's all one. And the singing of poetry is understood to be the purest expression of this highest art. So when sung, poetry belongs even more explicitly to the realm of expression beyond the rational, to the world of the spirit. Iranian traditional music is also understood as a transformative experience. It's intended to bring you into a state of consciousness, or hal, that is closer to or more open to the world beyond this ordinary world, the world beyond illusion. And the poetry is part of that power of sublimation, the power to dissolve boundaries. And this is true whether the poetry and music and singing come in the context of social pleasure or as a devotional in a devotional setting. So, for example, the spinning dance that we associate with the Sufis, which is called now sama, the word itself means listening, and it originally referred to gatherings where poetry and music were shared. The dance came later. Okay. The proper subject of poetry is love in the largest possible sense. And this is a big tent that includes romantic love, friendship, compassion, ecstatic spiritual experience, all essentially transformative. Again, Rumi's words, "Love holds all Eastern alchemy, a cloud that hides 1,000 thunderbolts. Inside me, its glory fills an ocean, a universe where all creation drowns." But aside from this sort of elevated understanding of poetry, poetry in Iranian culture is also a vital and vibrant presence in everyday ordinary life, not just a refined literary pastime. It's understood as dynamic, refreshing, reviving, and alive in our ordinary lives. I traveled to Iran not so long ago to work on an oral history project, and I was listening to the stories of elders telling their life stories, and I was fascinated by how they punctuated the stories at key moments with poetry, at the beginning as a way of gathering their thoughts and intentions, at the end as a way to conclude and offer a philosophical point of summary, but also at key emotional moments or turning points in the story, just as a punctuation or a way of expressing an emotional climax. And what was fascinating to me especially was that this was all coming from memory, and often from people who were illiterate, from elderly women who had never learned to read, but they'd learned the classics by heart. There's also the concept of fall, of poems as a kind of fortune-telling, where you'll choose a poem at random, and that will tell you something about the prognosis of your future. It's almost like throwing an I Ching, but it always comes from the poetry. And another way of recognizing the intimacy of poetry in people's lives is with the names they give to the poets. Now, when you have the classics like Hafez and Rumi, the names that are used there, Maulana, Hafez, are terms of respect. They're titles, essentially. But for the modern poets, like Nima Yushij or Farrukh Farrokhzad, they're always referred to by just the first name. And everybody knows who you're talking about. So there is that sense of these are people, these are works that we know intimately and that speak to us intimately. I asked Mahsa how she chooses the poems that she'll sing. And she explained that the choice is driven primarily by emotional resonance with her present life circumstances. There are much poetry, many examples of verses that may interest her aesthetically, intellectually, but for actual performance, she needs a deeply emotional expression that relates to her own life. The first poem that she's going to use tonight is called The Sun Rises by Farrukh Farrokhzad, who is one of the best known and best loved modern poets of the 20th century. She died in 1967 at the age of 32, and she's an enormously tragic figure. But she was also seen as radical, subversive, revolutionary, especially for the intensity of emotion in her work and her courage to express what she calls feminine feeling, to claim and express her experience as a woman, including writing openly and sensually about desire. She was attacked and reviled during her lifetime as well as celebrated, and she was banned for more than a decade after the revolution. I think you'll see how Mahsa relates this to her own experience of what she describes as aggressive injustice, being targeted as a woman and a performing artist in Iran. She came to the US, she visited many times before, but she came to live here as recently as 2018, and so she's very much had to deal with the current situation there and the repression of women as performers, as musicians. But the focus of the poem she's chosen is a transformation of the initial sadness to joy, exuberant, ecstatic expression of love, from darkness to light. And it's a reclaiming of power, a redemption. And I'll read a translation of that now. See how sadness melts, drop by drop, within my eyes, how my dark rebel shadow is enslaved by the sun. Look, how my entire being lies in ruins. A spark set flame consumed me, carried me to the highest peak, entrapped me. Look how my entire sky is filled with shooting stars. You came from far away, so far from a land of perfume and light. You led us up a starry path, raised us far beyond the stars. Now that we have reached the summit, wash me in the waves' wine. Twist me in your kisses' silk. Want me hungry through the long, slow nights. Don't let me go free. Don't keep me apart from these stars. Look, you shine and the sun rises. Although Farrukh's language is distinctly modern, we will hear a resonance with a lot of the themes from the poetry of the 13th and 14th century that will also be used tonight. But I want to look first at how the verse fits in with the music. Typically, when you're setting a poem to music, it's the metrics of the traditional verse forms, the measure of long and short syllables, that typically drive how it's set to music. And setting modern poetry, shereno, which means new poetry, to music is much more challenging because it abandons the traditional metric forms, and it's similar to free verse in using natural speech patterns as a basis for rhythm. And so that is a problem. But in the traditional structure of performance, there's typically an opening, an overture section that is non-metrical. It's called the daramad, and it sets the mood for everything to come in the evening's performance. And because it's not governed by metric rhythms, it lends itself to the modern poetry. This introductory section, the daramad, also typically explores the dastgah. And the dastgah is the mode. Iranian music, it comes in a selection of modes which are frameworks of melodic patterns that serve as a basis for improvisation and embellishment, and they're constrained to a particular rising and falling scale. But each dastgah expresses a different mood or emotional quality through the abstract qualities and physiological effects of the sound. So similar to Indian ragas that had, there's a morning raga and an evening raga, the origins of the dastgah, I believe, are also tied to times of day. So there's that sort of deep physiological connection with the nature of the sound that comes from that origin, although I think those connections have loosened over time. But how you characterize the emotional quality is also coming from long virtue of traditional association. So everything you've heard up until now in that dastgah colors how you describe what the mood of the dastgah is. So, for example, Mahur is described as hopeful. Dashti has been described as such a beautiful sadness that it creates joy and redemption. Homayun, which is the mode that, the dastgah that has been chosen for the Farooq poem tonight, is described as a sadness that relates more to volatile emotion. All of these descriptions are subjective and personal. They're words that different musicians have given me, and they may not, it's hard to say how objective they are. But I think you can see just by this tiny selection that there are thousands of flavors of sadness in Persian culture. In the same way that the dastgah are associative, have moods associated with them through just common experience, the body of poetry, the classical poetry especially, also has a cloud of meaning, of different themes that, all of the poets will use the same themes and they will express them in very individual voices, but there's such a commonality of shared ideas. So in the different voices, for example, Rumi is spontaneous and immediate, and Hafez is extremely studied and architectural, and his verses are woven together with great intricacy, which makes it very, very difficult to translate. And because of the commonality of themes, you can take a poem of Hafez, and every 2 lines could be expanded in another poem that Rumi has written 100 years before. And Hafez knew that poetry, and all of the poets know so much of the poetry. They're all leaning on each other's work, but finding new forms of expression. And the modern poets, too, who are very, very different in many ways, also lean on that body of knowledge. And so I'm going to take some liberties tonight. I will give you some direct translations of the poems that Mahsa will sing, but in others, because the translation is just impossible to do in a way that really communicates, I'll give you small poems from other poets that express the same themes. So here are a couple of poems by Rumi that I think it's clear Farooq leans on these themes. He who set my world on fire and made 100 tongues of flame consume my tongue. When fire blazed around me on all sides, I sighed, and he covered my mouth with his hand. Then thinking about the final lines of her poem, You Shine and the Sun Rises, this is Rumi again. My love kindly came to me last night. I begged the night, keep our mystery from the light. On the contrary, night said, you hold the sun within you. How can I bring morning? The second poem that Mahsa has chosen is also Hafez, and it's called Morning Sun of Hope. So you can see how it's all woven together. This is a translation. Don't shoot my heart with the arrow of your flirting glance, or I'll die before your languid eyes. My lungs are so filled with the air of love that my mind has lost any thought of self. Rise, O morning sun of hope, for I am trapped in this night of separation. For I am trapped in this night of separation. This is a theme that is woven throughout all Persian poetry, the notion of separation. The state of being separated from our divine origins is the existential human dilemma, the absence felt, what drives the spiritual seeker, and the human desire for love and connection equally. Both are from the same source. It's not just the appropriate theme for poetry and music and artistic expression, but it's the very nature of that expression, its container and its form. Perhaps the most famous, widely quoted lines of poetry in Persian that every school child knows are the first lines of Rumi's Masnavi, the great teaching poem, which begins Beshno az ne chun hekayat mikonad, as jodoyi ha shekayat mikonad. Listen to the ney, the reed flute, as it tells a tale, a lament, in response to its separation from its origin. The ney, the reed, was cut from the bed of reeds, and it resonates with its longing to return to its origin. Its sound, everything it expresses is this desire to return, desire, longing for reunion with what it's been separated from. This pervasive theme of separation, as you can imagine, it speaks very clearly to modern poets in exile. And it's sad, but it's not negative. There is a hope of redemption. This again is Rumi. Sorrow refines and cleanses your soul. It wears away your body till it's pure. This fire of love in which you burn will be your garden paradise one day. Or again, Rumi. Sadness to me is the happiest time when cities rise from the ruins of my mind. When I'm silent and still as the earth, my thunder's roar fills the universe. So there's no hope of solace, only of redemption. And pain is the price of love, just as the moth flying into the flame pays with singed wings. Sadness is the alchemist's fire that burns away impurity and transmutes lead to gold. This separation is not just the sadness of being apart. It's also very much the desire for union. And through this, it's often expressed that all desire, all aesthetic pleasure, is a reaching for God in disguise. Without tasting worldly love, how can we imagine divine love? And this ambiguity of the spiritual and the physical runs through Iranian art and literature, and the erotic ambiguity of that is an essential energy, and the layers, having layered meaning is something that's very prized. So the physical beauty of the beloved bears witness to the perfection of God's creation. Again, Rumi. They say heaven's a sublime paradise where nymphs and elixirs await. So now we grasp at love and wine in sweet anticipation of our fate. The relationship with the divine, beloved, is like a relationship with an earthly beloved. And the emotional qualities of that range from flirtation to falling profoundly in love, to ecstatic bliss, to jealousy, to fear of abandonment, all of the very human emotions connected with love. It's a very different expression of a relationship with the divine than the authoritarian power relationship of our Old Testament God. And it's, again, very, very present. This is another poem that Mahsa will actually use tonight, also by Hafez, and it's titled The Dialogue with the Beloved. I long for you, I said. She said, your longing will come to an end. Be my moon, I begged. Her answer, forever beyond your reach. I will shut you out of my mind, I said. A midnight thief, said she, will find another way in. The scent of your hair led me astray, I said. If only you knew, she said, it would guide your way. Your ruby lips kill me, I said, with desire. Be a slave to that desire, said she, and it will set you free. When she's singing it, you'll recognize this by the repeated gofta, goftam at the beginning of each line, which is really, I said, he said, or he and she are interchangeable. There's no gendered pronouns. But you'll hear the dialogue nature of it. And there are dozens and dozens of these dialogue poems in the classical tradition. They're little dramas, always with consistent characters. The beloved divine is a flirt and a tease. She offers glimpses of bliss, but she doesn't fully deliver yet. In the alchemy of transmuting sadness and longing into joy, the notions of physical desire or wine and drunkenness aren't just metaphorical. They're tied to how the divine finds expression in the world of human frailty and failure. This is the crack where the light gets in. And again, Rumi. Curses fall from your lips and the moon smiles. Those curses come from rubies forged in fire. Curse again. Your words caress my heart like a breeze that stirs the petals of a flower. And it often takes us to a place of humor. Grant him a cruel and faithless lover, Lord. Grant him a love that eats away at the heart. Let him know for himself the sorrow love brings. Grant him love, bliss, ecstasy. Give him the whole damn thing. Okay. When Farouk said in her poem at the beginning, look how my entire being lies in ruins, that is a direct echo of this broken world, and it's also a direct reference to the world of the Qalandar, and the word she uses, kharab, which means broken, destroyed. In the plural, kharabat, it means ruins, and it has the connotation of the pre-Islamic remains of Iran, Persepolis, the ruins that you see all over the country that are associated with Zoroastrian culture. I think it's best if I just read you a description I wrote elsewhere. Step into the tavern where you're greeted by a radiantly beautiful young Sari. This servant, guide, and witness hands you the cup, your own heart, and pours the wine. Drink deeply of the elixir of love. This wine is the key that unlocks the doors of perception and invites you into a realm beyond rational thought. The Sufi symbolism surrounding the tavern, Sari, wine, and drunken ecstasy draws on Zoroastrian lore many centuries older than Islam, which forbids the use of alcohol. The memory of its origins lives in the name that's given to the tavern keeper, Pire Moran, literally elder of the Magi, and in the stories of Jamshid, the mythical king who invented both wine and civilization. In Jamshid's cup, the entire world was visible, and the soul could see itself mirrored. In the shadows of the tavern, a pathetic figure sprawls. He is the Qalandar, a drunkard begging for the dregs of the barrel. He has squandered livelihood, reputation, and all dignity in the service of his thirst. Defying Muslim rules of conduct, he's a humble role model, in poetry at least, if more rarely in life, for those who would avoid the trap of taking pride in their own piety. This defiance of piety and hypocrisy and respectability is another theme that is just part of what it is to be a poet in Iran, classically modern times. The understanding is that this kind of transgression also embodies transformation. And so your sins represent your spirituality, and there's hints of a tantric ethos. This again is Rumi. Today I'm going to ramble drunk in town and drink from the bowl of a human skull. I'll search for a wise and sensible man and turn him into a crazy fool. Was such a drunk ever seen in love's tavern, or such shabby, broken old vats of wine? The courtyard's awash in wine, the sky overflows. Was such a full cup ever seen? This defiance is also expressed as a fearlessness. We have no fear of arrows or daggers or shackles or the blade against the neck. Hot-headed, we drink the devil's drink. Even less, we fear what people think. My faith in God is this: her eyes, their cheer, their drunken joy, and her wild heathen hair. They say this cannot be true religion. If so, with true religion I break faith. This is the spirit that lies behind the next poem that Mahsa has chosen, which is Hafez, The Joy of Your Kisses. Kisses that you give from your endless love, bless each day I live, thanks to God above. Oh, my fate, unfold, freeze this moment's bliss, drink from cups of gold, seek the lips you miss. The preachers call us fearless beasts. That's what we hear from those misguided priests. We will not obey priests of any sort. Give us wine today and cut their story short. As you can see, this is the same things that are subversive today were subversive several centuries ago, and there's a continuity. And this is very, very real in the culture. The Qalandar theme of this drunken, wasted man is also someone, and Hafez echoes this a lot, who likes to take blame on himself, malamati, and it links true humility to avoiding praise of piety, hypocrisy, dissimulation. The need to dissimulate also lies deep in the culture, and it's related to surviving real persecution, but it has evolved into a hypocrisy in a way that is, I think many people, including Mahsa and Hafez and myself, say is the real sin, the real problem with our culture today. This humility links also to a dissolving of self. And so you have a poem like Rumi again, my turban, my cloak, and my head, all three are worth less than a cent. My name is not heard in the world. I'm nobody, nobody, nobody. And this humility and dissolving of self in that context is also transformative into a sort of a more ultimate self-disillusion. And again, Rumi, you've stripped me of all signs and name, a soul, clapping without hands like joy itself. No place contains my soul. Where should I go? You've made me homeless, like spirit free to flow. And in all this transformation, what Mahsa is emphasizing tonight, the real focus of the emotion that she's bringing, is a sense of hope and the joy that lies in that hope. And I don't think I can begin to describe it in ways that can say any more than you will hear in her voice and in the rhythms tonight. But I'll end with this, the final note. Like friends united, it's a season blessed. Heart's light is sparked to life by body's death. At the sound of lightning laughing, clouds cry. The garden laughs as tears fall from the sky. I think following our pandemic and finally coming together again to enjoy this, that's a good place to end. Thank you.
Hi, I'm so delighted to have had Zara give us a preamble of something about the kind of eternal message that comes through Persian poetry. And I wanted to hold up her new book of translations, which is available in our bookstore. My name's Rachel Cooper. I'm the Director of Culture as Diplomacy. And I think what that means is culture as connection. And this is an important evening for us here at the Asia Society. It's in a sense the moment where we are getting beyond the isolation or the separation. And maybe this is the crack where the light comes through. I did want to say that this evening is in conjunction with an extraordinary exhibition, Rebel Jester Mystic Poet, works from the Muhammad Afkhami collection, which is in our museum. And I hope you will all have an opportunity to see that. This is the work of many contemporary artists, and yet many of those artists, whether they are the visual artists, film artists, musicians, they are working within some of the same themes that we've just heard about. That idea of emotion, of separation, of love, of sorrow, of love and sorrow coming together in some really powerful way. And I can't help but think, it's also the time of Diwali and another celebration of light. Or if we think about Zoroastrian and another celebration of light and fire. So I think we're in a time when we're really struggling to see how we can come together. And there are more things that I think could be the bonds of understanding than we often realize. And what more than music? And now that you have had some of the poetry translated, for those of you who are not Farsi speakers, of which I am sadly one, we have music. And music really does transcend in some really powerful ways. And I really think it is so much a part of what the Asia Society is all about. Finding those common places or finding the places that give us deep sorrow and seeing how we take that in and how we do something, understand the world in a different way. And so it's my deep pleasure to introduce Mahsa Vahdat. So please give her a warm welcome.
نگاه کن که غم درون دیدم، چگونه قطره قطره آب می شود، چگونه سایه سیاه سرکشم اسیر دست آفتاب می شود. نگاه کن، نگاه کن، تمام هستیم خراب می شود، شراری مرا به کام می کشد، مرا به اوج می برد، مرا به دام می کشد. نگاه کن، تمام آسمان من پر از شهاب می شود. تو آمدی ز دورها و دورها، ز سرزمین عطرها و نورها، به راه پرستاره می کشانیم، فراتر از ستاره می نشانیم. کنون که آمدیم تا به اوجها، مرا بشوی با شراب موجها، مرا بپیچ در حریر بوست، مرا بخواه در شبان دیرپا، مرا دیگر رها مکن، مرا دیگر رها مکن، مرا از این ستاره ها جدا مکن. نگاه کن، تو میدمی آفتاب می شود. Salam. Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. It's fantastic to be here and perform in the home of my voice and singing. It's the home that it's safest zone for me in the world, where I can reflect and reveal and express my emotional intensity, and I have no fear. And it's fantastic to bring the sensitivity, the passion, and the wisdom of fantastic Persian poets from classical to contemporary time. I would like to invite two fantastic master musicians to the stage, Bridget Kibbey and Shane Shanahan. This song was The Sun Will Rise by fantastic Iranian poet Farrokhzad. She was an audacious and fearless woman. Now we are going to go back to centuries ago, and we are performing in this part 3 songs: Morning, Son of Hope, Dialogue with the Beloved. These 2 poems are by Hafiz. Hafiz is a 14th century poet. His influence is huge in Iran and also in all Farsi-speaking countries. And he is omnipresent in Iranians' life. And his masterful and profound language is so appreciated. Rise, O the morning sun of hope and redemption, for I am lost in the night of separation, in the night of loss and separation. And the 3rd poem is My Ruthless Companion by fantastic poet Rumi, who lived in 13th century. When he met Shams Tabriz, a true rebirth and revolution happened in his life. And it led to a fantastic treasury of poem, Divan Shams, this extreme love and passion. On earth, you are my moon. At midnight, you are my morning dawn. Oh, my sweet mist, you are my protection in this storm.
برای آفتاب صبح امید، برای آفتاب صبح امید راه نظر ببندم گفتا که شب روست از راه دیگر آید گفتا که شب روست از راه دیگر آید
The next song is Crane, Dorna, that means crane. The first time I heard this song was by legendary singer Sima Bina, and it's the melody is from Khorasan. Khorasan has a border with Afghanistan. It's a very, very beautiful province with fantastic and rich music. And Marjan and I, my sister and I, we did our own version, also made it a little different. And the poem is by Muhammad Ibrahim Ja'fari, who was also a master painter in Iran. And it's about freedom, yearning for freedom. And it tells that nobody can take freedom from the heart, even in the prison.
ای پرای تو بسته لبهات پر از رنگی شد درنو ای پرای تو بسته مباد لبهات پر از رنگی شد در آسمون ابرو دشتای سبز آباد کفترای بسته آزاد های پراتون خسته لباتون بسته در آسمون ابرو باد دشتای سبز آباد کفترای بسته آزاد ای پراتون خسته لباتون بسته یاری من زانه شوانه لبرگری میانه سرگزان از لرچیانه هی دل یاری من زانه شوانه لبرگری میانه سرگزان از لرچیانه صدای تو از کوه دور صدای تو از کوه دور قصه های سنگ رنگ مهتاب و اشک بلور سایه ابر و ماه سایه ابرو ماه چشمم به راهی یاری من زانه شوانم لبرگری میان سرگزان از نچیان ای دل یاری من زانه شوانم لبرگری میان سرگزان از نچیان
We go again to the past. It's a journey to present and to the past. 2 poems of Hafiz. Hafiz is a very free-minded poet who opposes hypocrisy and piety. And his multi-dimensional poetic language always challenging the readers. O wise one, blame me not for going to the tavern, for I have a weak heart when it comes to keeping away from the cup. And in the second one, we will not obey priests of any sort. Give us wine today and cut their story short.
بدن دارم هواداران کویش را چو جان خویشتن دارم به کام و آرزوی چو دارم خلوتی حاصل چه فکر از خبث بد گویان میان انجمن دارم سزد کس خاتم لعل
Now the song Boutarab by Rumi. It's a beautiful and playful transic text. And Boutarab is the name of a musician in 10th century who was famous for joyful song. Was fun. And the last part is May This Meadow Have Flower by Rumi and Twinklings of Hope by contemporary poet Muhammad Ibrahim Ja'fari. The Twinkling of Hope is or Daram Omidi is a poem about hope, and it says that I have a hope. It's simply beautiful. And before we perform this song, I would like to thank to Asia Society for arranging this concert, and it's fantastic to be among audiences. And also very special thank to Rachel Cooper for all she did for this concert. Thank you. And also I would like to thank two fantastic master musicians, Bridget Kibbey on harp, and Shane Shanahan on percussion. It's really an honor for me. And thanks to Zara Houshmand for her talk about poetry. Just a little of the Rumi poem. Like the moon, my body is glowing by love. May my heart, this lyre of Venus, let its strings go wild.
گسسته تار بادا که گسسته تار بادا به گداز ماه منگر دارم امیدی دارم امیدی در آسمانت دیدم ابر سپیدی ای ابر دلکش ای اسب سرکش دستی به یالت می نشیند تک سواری بیقراری کاوی در کار یاری عاشقی چشم انتظاری عاشقی چشم انتظاری
I have a hope.